Well, joining me now is the Director of Strategic Communications at pro-life organisation Live Action, Alison Howard Centofonte, and the national organiser for the Women's March on Washington, Jenna Arnold. Ladies, really appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us. Alison, if I could firstly start with you, it is, of course, a very emotive subject. It has re-energised the abortion debate. I'm interested to know whether you think that what we're hearing in the United States, what has happened in Alabama, is moving momentum towards or against the position that you stand?
Absolutely. And thanks for having me talking about this. Look, the reality is life is hard. It is hard for women, particularly hard for women in unplanned pregnancies. It's also extremely hard for a preborn child who has no legal protections in our country at all. None at all. Not until you're born even. Are you given a chance in this country? And so Roe v. Wade allowed abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. That's not where the American people are. And we're discovering that we're ready. We're ready to step up and look out for each other. And the claims of poverty and crime and all of these things, we need to band together and solve those societal ills. But why is it that abortion is the only issue that cannot be addressed, can't be touched until everything else is solved? We need to fight for the life of preborn children and their mothers together, compassionately, and be nonviolent. That is a violent procedure. We encourage everyone to look into abortionprocedures.com so they know just what we're talking about.
Let's bring in Jenna. I mean, you know, Alison there says it's a violent position. I mean, but this is fundamentally an attack on Roe v. Wade, that 1973 Supreme Court ruling that legalised abortion.
Correct. But let's be crystal clear. This is an attack on women's sovereignty to be able to make decisions on their behalf, on their family's behalf. And this isn't just about women. This is about men and family planning and the right to choose in this country. It's very difficult for anybody to stand on the pro-life ticket when they're anti-choice and anti-abortion. This country is riddled with circumstances where children are being jeopardized constantly. 13 million American kids go to school hungry every single day. It's hard for me to give any sort of credence to anyone who's standing on a pro-life ticket if they're pro-gun, if they're pro-death penalty. There's a tremendous amount of people, children, toddlers, human beings walking around in this country that need a lot more support than embryos at 6 weeks.
Alison?
Okay, again, that's a distraction tactic. We're here to talk about abortion. I don't know why all these other issues are on the table. We're not even talking about the topic here. Look, my dad was born in terrible circumstances. He made it. I'm glad his mom chose life. Reverend Jesse Jackson himself was even conceived in rape. I'm glad he's here. We would never look at him and say, you can't be here because of the way you were conceived or your so-called wantedness. Your humanity is yours based off of the fact that you're part of our human family. And we have to look out for the most vulnerable. I want to work together with other women and men on this because, look, we're all meant to look out for innocent lives. And medical science shows this is not a pro-life talking point. You can take it up with the Mayo Clinic. Life begins at the moment of fertilization. It's how you and I got here. And we need to protect each other.
Okay, Jenna.
I'm the daughter of a man whose mother opted out of abortion, yet I have raised my hand to terminate a pregnancy. The bottom line is that both my grandmother and myself had the choice to make the best decision for our lives, for our family, and for society in general. The idea that pro-life is that anti-choice extremists like yourself are stripping the conversation and adding rhetoric around it is totally hypocritical to the rest of the services that are not being provided to the people who are desperately needing them in this country today. The bottom line is this is about family planning. This is about the safety and well-being of women and her either female or male partners, about the children that she has to take care of, about the families that she has to take care of. If you're going to sit there and say, yes, we have to take care of embryos, and I'm happy to have conversations with the Mayo Clinic, and if you want to go into the scientific details of it, by all means, bring it. The bottom line is that we as a country and individuals don't have the financial and structural support to always say yes all the time.
Alison?
I disagree with you there. I do not think that you should have a choice to kill someone that is innocent, and that includes you. I don't think that should be something that we say as women. Let me finish. that we as women say, my bodily autonomy is more important than your body, that little girl in the womb. I went down to the Stop the Bans rally with a t-shirt that said, women's rights begin in the womb, because that's when I needed to be protected most. I have no legal protections in this society until I'm born. And as a matter of fact,
don't try to humanize an embryo. I recognize what evolves. I recognize the biological development of what happens in the womb, but don't call it a girl when it's an embryonic cell.
Ladies, if we talk over each other, none of us are going to be able to hear what you're saying. Jenna, I'd like to also get your thoughts on. There's a lot of talk about the balance in the Supreme Court, 5-4 in favour of Conservatives. So where does that leave your side of the argument? What position does that leave you moving forward?
Concerned.
Go on.
The legislative bench across the country has been rebuilt consistently for the past number of years, a bit under the radar, so to speak. And with Kavanaugh's confirmation, it leaves those Americans, 70% of them, I might add, who support choice, very concerned about what happens if Roe v. Wade gets put on the docket again.
Alison, it's interesting that Jenna just raised the issue of polls. From what I've seen, the majority of Americans disagree with the position that Alabama has taken. Is that fair to say?
There's some recent polling that shows a wide spectrum, right? There's a wide pro-life belief, whether pro-life begins at fertilization, 6 weeks heartbeat, 20 weeks.
But what do the polls show? Do they show that people are for or against Alabama's position?
So about 80% of Americans would limit abortion after the first trimester, according to a February 2019 Mayor's poll. So within the first 3 months of pregnancy, there's conversation there. They would either end it after that or ban it. And I just want to go back to one thing. We're talking about prenatal development and embryology. Your gender is already there. The moment of fertilization, you have your gender, your DNA, your hair color even is decided. That's the medical reality. Your right as a woman to have a chance at life should start at that moment, because you are, with time and nutrition, going to turn out like you and me, Jenna. And so I want to welcome you to join this fight. We do not need to pit ourselves against our innocent children in order to succeed in life. That's a lie. It's a complete lie. And we should demand better from society than people telling us that that's our only way to succeed.
Okay, let's bring in Jenna to respond.
Alison, I really appreciate you bringing up the point about how we can demand society to do better. And Gamal, I'd like to go back to your point about the nature of this divided subject. This wasn't a wedge issue, an issue that divided the country like it did until the late 70s, when the Republicans decided that they needed more votes. And the best way to do that was to talk about and to show photos of children to Republican women, to swing them to their line of the political field to increase votes. Again, this is a wedge issue that divides this country in ways that are embarrassing. And Alison, I couldn't be more aligned with you that we do have to find ways to bridge the chasm of division related to how we can create more of a thriving and healthy environment for those people who are currently walking around.
Alison, where can we find common ground on this debate?
Well, this is a human rights issue. And a right is either a right applied to all or to none. And so what we're looking at with Roe is, does this person get the guaranteed right of legal protection under the 14th Amendment? It's what Justice Harry Blackmun said would make Roe collapse, is if you could prove personhood of that child. And so these bills are looking at that. Is it at 20 weeks when a baby can feel pain? Is it at 6 weeks when a heartbeat is there? I mean, think about it, guys. In our society, if your heart stops, if my heart stops, we're dead. So we're trying to compromise here as a pro-life community and say, surely we can assert that there's a life there when a heartbeat is present. So we're willing to compromise here. But as of yet, NARAL, Planned Parenthood, now none of these national organizations draw a line anywhere on abortion to protect that child in our society. Right now, I'll just end on this. Right now in our society, as a woman, you cannot be discriminated against for your sex, your race, or your disability, except in an abortion. You can absolutely discriminate against someone just for being a female. You can get an abortion for that, because they're disabled, because of their race, all totally legal here. And I would add age discrimination to that as well. This is just a child that needs time and nutrition.
Jenna, final thought from you. I mean, where can we find common ground on this debate?
Kamal, I'd really appreciate it if some of the anti-choice extremists would stop characterizing an embryo with hair and kicking soccer balls in my womb and show up to have more conversations about how we can support and protect life today.